We begin in Kenya, and on the front page of the Daily Nation newspaper in Kenya, we can see the big story, take it or leave it, Ruto tells Raila. Like we know, we must quickly bring you up to speed. There's been a series of protests Mondays and Thursdays in Kenya, and this started on the 20th of March, and it was led by the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga, and part of the conversation will be protest for the election tribunal, International Election Tribunal, to be opened, the service to be opened for them to access if there had been some foul play, and then the protest of high cost of living. Now, if you see the sub-story there on page 25, it says, in a dramatic escalation of hardline positions that could scuttle the ceasefire the two leaders announced on Sunday, President William Ruto yesterday insisted that negotiations will only involve lawmakers and dismissed Azimio leader Raila Odinga's proposal for a process similar to that which midwifed the National Accord in 2008. Azimio has threatened to go back to the streets if their demands are not met. Well, we know that there was a ceasefire on Sunday, meaning that there wasn't a protest in the past week. But how long is this ceasefire going to last? I guess we'll find out. Ruto has called Raila's bluff. Azimio camp names teams of 7 to hold talks with Kenya Kwanza's negotiators. We have on the top of the paper, did police cover up officer's death? NTV expose reveals policeman was run over by a police vehicle during Azimio's anti-government protest in Kisumu. Oh, wow. The plot thickens. All right, still on the front page, price hike. Firms scramble to set new price list on raised excise stamp charges. And in the weather space, we have weatherman predicts inadequate rainfall in the April-June season. There are suggestions that most regions are likely to experience near to below average rainfall, and I'm hoping that they can start to do what's necessary. I wonder if, in regions where they touted to maybe not have adequate rainfalls in a year, they're able to create artificial rain, like we've seen in other countries. We've seen in Dubai, for example, where they have artificial rain. I wonder if that's a technology that has, we can implement here where, okay, if we don't have enough rain, that's fine, not to worry, we'll create artificial rain. And because how else are the crops meant to thrive? How are people meant to eat? Because it is when we have enough rains that we can talk about an exciting harvest season.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen countries like in Burkina Faso just yesterday. We saw the death of, they lost a lot of livestock, animals dead everywhere. They were on the road, wow. Especially not being able to get adequate water to drink, the dry lands and so on. And not forgetting too, our guest who joined us this week all the way from Namibia was in celebration saying, hey, finally it rained after such a long time. So when you hear a forecast that says, expect weather, heavy rains, downpours and the likes, sometimes it's a bit too much, but like they say, you can't have it all. What you have so much is what someone else is actually wishing for.
It's interesting that you say what you have so much is what someone else is wishing for, because the next story I have says, a tale of 2 Easters. Now, the sub-story says, for some wealthy Kenyans, the Easter break will mean a vacation to the sandy beaches at the coast, exclusive resorts or game drives in national parks and game reserves spread across the country. But for many others, there will be no fanfare owing to the tough economic times that have pushed many to the edge. So it's just the reality of life and the reality of what's happening. While some are going to be enjoying themselves and having Easter breaks with the family and Easter reunions, some others will barely see what to eat because they're dealing with the effects of the removal of subsidy and the high cost of living in Kenya. It's just a sad reality, not just in Kenya, but in other parts of the country. The final story this morning, for those of you in the United States of America or who have loved ones there, watch out, bacteria in meat is causing UTI. And that's a new study has warned that it's linked, the United States, UTI in the United States are linked to E. coli strains found in meat sold in grocery stores, American scientists have said. That's what we have on the Daily Nation in Kenya. Let's move from the east and head to the west. All
right, moving on to the west very quickly. Let's go to Punch. The Punch in Nigeria, starting from top to bottom. Yeah, from the top. Reps probe alleged 20 billion naira diversion by NNPCL officials. Now, this story is still rearing its ugly head, if you put it that way. Page 19 has all of that. The reps are probing the alleged 20 billion naira diversion by NNPCL officials some time ago while carrying out an audit and so on. It was highlighted that 20 billion naira could not be accounted for. Did it grow legs all of a sudden and walk away, or did it run and hide, or was it eaten by animals once more? Maybe a snake or a bear this time. Well, let's see what will come out of that story. Sacked LP chair blames APC as police occupy secretariat, page 12. There seems to be a lot of internal wrangling in the Labour Party as a lot of persons are coming out and going ahead with their prayers to court and saying they want the LP chairman to be sacked here and there. Well, you might get more information later on in the course of our programming, or better still, check out page 12 of The Punch. Killer headsmen raid Benue community, kill policemen and 45 others. They are back. They are back. Sad story again. Page 3. You have a picture of the outgoing governor, Tom, but you can get all the details inside of page 3. Let's take the big one. Very big, the front page there. By the way, congratulations to The Punch as it celebrates 50 years. Well done. Keep it going. Interim government, parties back military as the defense headquarters rubbishes plot. Says calls are illegal. Page 2. You also heard that with Blessings Mosugu, where she brought you that story. INEC has announced president-elect. Interim government can't stand. DHQ warns. Call for interim government a coup. Treasonable, unpatriotic. APC, PDP, NNPP. Military cannot interpret constitution, says LP, tells DHQ to avoid politics.
Wow.
Military cannot interpret constitution, says Labour Party. So Labour Party is kind of like standing away from that, while APC, PDP and NNPP are indeed standing in solidarity with the DHQ, saying that they are right. But a video surfaced yesterday that showed the current Vice President, Professor Yomi Osibajo, senior advocate of Nigeria, who equally called for an interim government should things not go well at the elections. Well, not the current elections, but of course
the one that
previous.
saw them in.
Yes, of course,
yeah.
they got them in previous elections, 2009, and so on. And many people had they kept sharing that video far and wide. Of course, carried out by a news channel, Channels TV, and it was obvious that people said, okay, so when he made this statement, how come
was okay then? Why is it
everything
not
was
okay
fine?
now?
And then there were other videos that emerged as well. But get it right, News Central, we are not in any way supporting an interim government, or we're not standing and putting our foot down and saying this is how it should be. Nope.
We are not in support, neither we are against.
Exactly.
We're just
what we're doing simply is just to look at all the sides, all the sides, left, right, center, which is what you do if you stay to ensure that you are neutral. We look at all the sides, and that's what we've been doing. If you followed the channels yesterday, you will find out that some of our programmings had guests who spoke incisively on this, and we're doing that this morning as well. So, was it okay to say it then and not okay to say it now? Why was it allowed then if the current administration harped on it so strongly? But in all, we just talked about what we saw in another country, Rwanda. We're just hoping everything lands and continues in peace. Let me quickly rush through some of the headers as well. Last one, remain in Lagos for census. Ohaneze tells Igbos. Page 8 has that story. And finally, the front page there, IG decorates newly promoted DIG, AIG and others. You can see them well decorated. It's a new start for them and they have work to do. That's all we're taking from The Punch this morning.
All right, let's still stay in Nigeria and look at the Nation newspaper. On the front page of the Nation in Nigeria, gunmen kill 3 policemen in Edo and 3 Lagos residents on page 6. Why Tinubu was elected by U.S-Based observer mission. Ndiri leader Carson. Okay, NDIRII. I don't want to pronounce that as a word. I'll just NDIRI leader Carson speaks on poll at meeting with minister in Washington, D.C. Still on the front page, we have mischief makers plotting interim government, says DHQ. Of course, the defense headquarters has been informing, or DSS, of course, initially had been the one speaking about the possibility of an interim government. No easy electoral victory again, Buhari tells politicians. At the bottom of the paper, Rivers APC suspends Amechi. Wow. Attacks Mogalu defends Shoyinka. At the top of the paper, Macron seeks China's action to end Russia-Ukraine war. Leadership crisis tears Labour Party apart. We see Abure Apapa lay claim. Obasanjo urges incoming government to begin healing and reconciliation. Whew. There's a lot of healing and a lot of reconciliation that needs to be done. There's a lot of admitting, a lot of addressing of wrongs that need to be done. Because before you can even go into healing and reconciliation, if you look at Rwanda, for example, before they got to the area of healing and reconciliation, first admitting what was wrong. It's why a part of their history is there taught to them, taught to strangers as a reminder. So when you go there, you visit the Rwanda Memorial Center to remind yourself that this happened. Because I can't say to you that I'm trying to get over something or let's heal if I haven't admitted that I did something wrong. So there's a lot of wrong that a lot of people feel wrong. And I think those wrongs, first of all, must be admitted to and addressed before a lot of healing and reconciliation.
And there's risk if you don't do that, because what you're doing is you're hitting up the polity. Not just that, you're building a negative submission. People are going to submit to you
out of
negatively,
fear, coercion,
but
not out
if
of
they have
respect.
any single chance to carry out I wouldn't use the word revenge or reprisal, but if they have an opportunity to equally show that they have a distrust, then it wouldn't sound or wouldn't look good.